The twin suns of the planet Varine were rising when the school gates opened for the new day. Students of many species walked inside, talking loudly, laughing, and sharing stories. But everything changed the moment a quiet, soft vibration passed through the ground. It felt like a pulse of energy, soft but strange, like something alive. Everyone turned toward the main entrance. A small alien girl was walking toward the building. Her steps were slow, careful, almost afraid. Her name was Lyra, and she was new to the school. People had heard rumors about her, but no one knew the truth. Some said she came from a destroyed city. Others said she escaped from a secret lab. But everyone agreed on one thing: she was different. Lyra kept her hood low, but it couldn't hide the glowing blue scars across her face and neck. They looked like bright cracks of lightning under her skin, pulsing with every heartbeat. When she walked past the school fence, the lights along the path flickered. Some students stepped back. Others whispered loudly on purpose so she could hear. "Look at her face," an alien boy snorted. "She looks broken," another said. "Maybe she carries some disease." Lyra kept her eyes on the ground. She didn't say a single word. She had already expected this. Every school treated her this way. Every planet did too. She knew she was different. The scars reminded her every day. Inside the building, the hallways grew quiet as she walked. Some students moved aside like she was dangerous. Some stared like she was a strange animal. A few laughed behind her back. But Lyra kept moving, her shoulders tense and her hands shaking a little. When she entered her classroom, everyone stopped talking. The teacher tried to smile, but even he looked unsure. He pointed her toward an empty seat at the back of the room. As she walked there, her scars glowed a little brighter. The room lights flickered again. Some students gasped. The bullies in the front row smirked. "Great," one whispered loudly. "A walking power outage." Another laughed. "Maybe she'll explode." Lyra tried to ignore them, but their words hit her like small stones. She sat down, pulled her hood lower, and took out her notebook. She tried to look normal. She tried to blend in. But her scars were bright and alive, and everyone could see them. Still, she wasn't alone. One person in the room did not laugh, did not stare, and did not look scared. A human boy named Evan sat near the middle of the class. He watched Lyra with calm eyes. Not curious. Not afraid. Just thoughtful. He saw the way she kept her hands close to her chest, like she was trying to make herself smaller. He saw her hide her face every time someone looked at her. He saw her pain before she even spoke. When the teacher started the lesson, Lyra tried to keep her head down. But the bullies kept whispering. They watched her like she was a creature from a cage. They waited for her to make a mistake. Then it happened. Her pencil rolled off her desk and hit the ground. As she leaned down to pick it up, her hood slipped off, revealing all her glowing scars at once. The entire class gasped. A few students stood up in fear. A chair fell over. And then the room lights shut off completely. Darkness swallowed the classroom. Only one thing glowed. Lyra's scars, shining like blue fire in the darkness. Students screamed. Others backed against the wall. Even the teacher stepped away. But one person did not move. Evan. He looked straight at her glowing face, calm and steady, while everyone else panicked. Lyra froze. She didn't know whether to hide or run. And then the strange hum started again. Low, slow, and rising like something dangerous waking up inside her. The entire room trembled. And Evan whispered into the darkness. "Who did this to you?" The classroom stayed dark for several long seconds. Only Lyra's glowing scars lit the room in soft blue light, spreading across the walls like reflections from deep water. Students pressed themselves against their desks, afraid she would lose control, afraid something terrible would happen. They whispered in panic, their voices shaking. But Evan, the human boy, stood slowly from his chair. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't even surprised. He stepped toward Lyra, careful but calm, like he was walking toward a frightened animal that needed help, not danger. His eyes were fixed on her face, the face everyone else refused to look at. Lyra pulled her hood up fast and curled into herself, ashamed of the light coming from her skin. She whispered, "I didn't mean to. I really didn't. I'm sorry." But the bullies didn't believe her. "Stay away from her," one alien boy shouted. "She'll blow up the school," another yelled. "Teacher, do something," someone cried from the back. The teacher fumbled with the wall switches, trying to bring the lights back on, but the system didn't respond. The glowing lines on Lyra's skin continued to pulse softly, brightening and dimming like waves. Evan took another slow step toward her. "Are you hurt?" he asked quietly. Lyra shook her head, her hands trembling. "No. It's just, my body reacts when people stare. Or shout. Or," her voice broke a little, "when they fear me." The bullies only laughed. One of them pushed her notebook off the desk with his tail. It fell to the ground with a splash of light from her scars. She didn't pick it up. She tried to slide back until her chair hit the wall. Evan finally reached her desk. He bent down, picked up the notebook, and placed it gently in front of her. "You didn't do anything wrong," he said softly. The other students were stunned. A human boy standing so close to her. Touching something she touched. Acting like she was normal. They didn't understand it. "Evan, you idiot," a girl shouted. "She's dangerous. Her scars are unstable. You want to die." But Evan ignored them all. He turned his head toward the teacher. "Can someone turn on the emergency lights?" Before anyone could answer, the room lights blinked back to life on their own. The normal brightness returned slowly, pushing away the blue glow from Lyra's skin. The class sighed in relief, but the tension stayed in the air like thick smoke. Lyra quickly pulled her hood low again. She wished she could disappear. Her scars dimmed to their normal soft glow. Evan sat in the empty seat beside her. "Why are you sitting here?" she whispered, confused and nervous. "Because nobody else should sit with you," he said with a small smile. Lyra looked down. She wasn't used to kindness. Especially not from humans. They were usually too careful around aliens, even the friendly ones. But Evan looked at her like she was just another student. Not a monster. Not a weapon. Just a girl. "Don't," she whispered. "People will hate you for this." He shrugged. "People already hate me for being quiet. This is nothing new." For a moment, Lyra almost laughed. It surprised her. Then the bullies stood up again, angry that Evan didn't follow their warnings. One of them slapped Evan's desk hard. "Hey, human. You think you're a hero?" Another pointed at Lyra. "She's not worth it. She's a scarred freak." Evan's eyes changed. Calm, but sharper. He stood, placing himself between Lyra and the bullies. "You don't know anything about her," he said quietly. "So stop talking like you do." The bullies were shocked, a human boy protecting an alien girl. They didn't know how to respond. Lyra stared at Evan like he was something impossible. Someone choosing to stand in front of her, not run away from her. "Why?" she whispered again, barely audible. Evan turned to her and said quietly. "Because I want to understand you. Not fear you." The words hit her harder than any insult ever had. For the first time since she arrived on Vereen, the glow of her scars softened, not from sadness or fear, but from something warm she didn't recognize. Hope. The rest of the school day moved slowly, but Lyra felt every minute like a weight on her chest. After the tense morning, students kept whispering, pointing, and staring at her glowing scars. Some stayed far away from her. Some watched her like she was a dangerous creature. But a few tried to secretly record her with their holodevices. And the worst part. Lyra noticed all of it. Evan stayed close, walking beside her through the halls. Not too close to make her nervous, but close enough to show she wasn't alone. Students watched them together with wide, confused eyes. A human and a scarred alien girl. Side by side. It didn't make sense to them. When lunchtime came, Lyra slipped away from the crowded cafeteria. She hated eyes on her. She hated whispers. She hated fear. She found an empty garden behind the building, where a tall crystal tree cast glowing shadows on the ground. She sat under it, hugging her knees. A few minutes later, Evan walked into the garden. "You left fast," he said gently. "I don't belong there," Lyra whispered. "Not with them. Not with anyone." Evan sat down a few feet away. "I think you do." She didn't respond. She stared at the grass, watching it glow faintly under her skin's light. "Lyra," Evan said softly. "What happened to you? The scars, the lights, what are they?" Lyra froze. No one had ever asked her that with kindness. Usually, people asked with fear or anger. They wanted to know if she was a threat. If she would explode. If she was a weapon. Evan's voice was different. Patient. Warm. Human. She took a slow breath. "If I tell you, you will run." "Try me," he said simply. Lyra closed her eyes. The memories hurt, but she forced herself to speak. "I wasn't born like this," she began. "My planet, Varine Delta, was attacked 4 years ago. Not by aliens. By our own people. A group called the Ark Syndicate." Evan listened without blinking. They wanted to create living power sources, biological batteries. They believed they could use children to store and release energy. They took hundreds of us. They cut us open. They filled our bodies with energy crystals. They wanted to turn us into weapons. Evan felt cold hearing this, but he didn't interrupt. "These scars," Lyra touched her glowing face softly. "They are the lines where they put the crystals inside me. They kept me in a dark lab for a long time. They tested me. Hurt me. Forced me to hold more energy than my body could handle." Her voice shook. Her scars glowed brighter, reacting to her emotions. Evan leaned closer, worried she might break down. "It's okay. You're safe now. You don't have to." "No," Lyra whispered. "You should know." She wiped her eyes, even though tears didn't fall. Aliens of her species didn't cry like humans. Their skin lightened instead. One night, the power grid failed. The lab doors opened. I escaped before they could use me for war. "And the others?" Evan asked softly. Lyra looked away. "I was the only one who survived." Silence fell between them. The crystal tree above them hummed gently, its branches shifting with the light. Evan's heart hurt for her. Not because she was strange, but because she had been strong for so long, alone. "So your scars," he said slowly, "aren't just injuries." "No," Lyra whispered. "They're unstable power. If I feel too much fear or pain, the energy tries to escape. That's why the lights flicker. That's why the classroom went dark." She wrapped her arms around herself, trembling. "That's why everyone fears me. Even if I don't want to hurt anyone. I might." Evan reached out a hand, not touching her, but offering it. "I'm not afraid," he said gently. "Not of you." Lyra stared at his hand, stunned. No one had ever said that to her. No one had ever believed she wasn't dangerous. But before she could answer, A soft beep sounded nearby. Evan turned. 3 students were hiding behind a bush, holding a hollow device, recording everything she said. They grinned when they saw Evan notice them. And ran away fast. Lyra's scars brightened in sudden panic. "They're going to show everyone," she whispered. "They're going to turn the whole school against me." The ground beneath them trembled. The crystal tree flickered. Lyra's power reacted to her fear. Evan stepped closer. "Lyra, look at me. Listen." But the energy inside her was rising, unstable, wild. The real danger had just begun. The 3 students who recorded Lyra ran through the hallways as fast as they could. Their hollow device blinked with a red dot, showing the active recording. They were laughing, excited, ready to share the video with the whole school. To them, it wasn't a tragedy. It was entertainment. A way to get attention. Evan chased after them, but they disappeared into the crowded hall. He returned to the garden, breathless. Lyra sat under the crystal tree, hugging herself tightly. Her scars were glowing brighter than before, too bright. Almost white. Her breathing was fast and uneven. "They're going to show everyone," she whispered. "They're going to call me a monster again." Evan knelt in front of her. "Lyra, listen. We can talk to the teachers. We can explain. They'll understand." "No," she said, voice trembling. "They won't. No one ever does." The glow spread across her arms and neck, lines of energy pulsing like lightning under her skin. The ground around her shook slightly. Leaves fell from the crystal tree in shimmering flakes. "Lyra, breathe," Evan said softly. "Focus on me. I'm right here." But she couldn't hear him anymore. Memories filled her mind again. The lab. The cold metal table. The needles. The screaming voices. The pain. Her scars blazed brighter. Evan slowly reached for her hand. "You're not there anymore." Before she could respond, the school alarm rang. A loud, sharp siren. Students poured out of classrooms, confused and panicking. Teachers shouted instructions. And suddenly, a giant hollow screen lit up in the hallway. The video. The bullies had uploaded it. Every student saw Lyra glowing in the garden, explaining how she held unstable energy inside her body. They saw the memories. The fear. The danger. They watched her say she could lose control. Gasps filled the hall. Some screamed. Some ran. Some shouted for security. The garden doors opened, and a crowd gathered, staring at Lyra like she was a bomb ready to explode. "She's a weapon. She lied. She's dangerous. She's going to blow us all up." Their words stabbed into her heart like knives. Lyra stood up slowly, but her legs were shaking. Tears didn't fall from her eyes, her species cried through glowing skin. And she was glowing brighter than ever. "I didn't want this," she whispered. But the crowd didn't listen. The pressure inside her chest rose like a wave. The light under her skin pulsed so fast that her whole body trembled. Then, boom! A sudden burst of energy exploded from her feet, sending ripples across the ground. Students stumbled back in fear. The crystal tree behind her cracked down the middle, its glowing branches falling around her like shattered glass. "Lyra!" Evan shouted, trying to reach her. The crowd screamed. "Get away from her. She's going to destroy the school. Security! Hurry!" Lyra backed away, horrified by herself. I can't stop it. I didn't mean to." Her scars glowed so much that her face was almost blinding. Sparks of blue energy shot from her fingers. Everyone kept running away from her. Everyone, except Evan. He walked forward through the collapsing garden, ignoring the screams around him. The ground shook beneath his feet, but he didn't stop. He didn't even flinch. "Evan, don't," a teacher shouted. But he kept going. He stopped right in front of Lyra, inches from her glowing hands. "Look at me," he said softly. "I'll hurt you," she whispered, terrified. "You won't," he said, stepping closer. "Because I trust you." Lyra shook her head violently. "The energy, I can't hold it, I'm losing control." "It's okay," Evan whispered. "Let it see me. Let it feel me. You're not alone." He gently took her face in his hands. The entire crowd gasped. Some covered their mouths. Some turned away, expecting Evan to be burned alive. But he didn't burn. The light softened. The trembling stopped. The wild energy inside Lyra slowed, then calmed, then settled like quiet waves. Evan's touch didn't fear her. Didn't reject her. Didn't hurt her. It balanced her. For the first time in her life, her scars glowed softly, not in pain, not in danger, but in peace. The crowd stared in shock. "What just happened?" someone whispered. But Lyra wasn't looking at them. She was looking only at Evan. "Why didn't you run?" she asked in a quiet, broken voice. Evan smiled gently. "Because you needed someone to stay." For a long moment, everything was silent. The alarms were still ringing. The ground still carried cracks from Lyra's energy burst. Crystal branches lay scattered around the garden like broken stars. But no one moved. No one spoke. Everyone stared at the impossible scene in front of them. Lyra was glowing softly again, but it was a gentle light. Warm. Calm. Safe. And Evan stood in front of her, hands still on her face, completely unharmed. She looked into his eyes with disbelief. How did you do that?" Evan didn't know how to explain it. He didn't know why the energy didn't hurt him. He only knew one thing for certain. "I wasn't afraid," he said quietly. The students watching couldn't believe their eyes. A few whispered. A few trembled. Even the bullies looked frozen, like statues. None of them had ever expected a human boy to stand in front of raw alien energy and survive. Lyra took a step back, checking his hands, his arms, his face. "You're not burned. You're not hurt. Maybe your power knows the difference," Evan said. "Maybe it knows who wants to help you." Lyra swallowed hard. Her scars glowed brighter for a moment, but this time not from fear. From emotion. Students gathered closer, keeping distance but watching. Whispering. "How is he alive? What is happening? Is she changing?" Before anyone could answer, the head teacher and security guards rushed in, ready to surround Lyra. But when they saw Evan standing safely in front of her, they hesitated. "Everyone step back," the head teacher ordered. "No sudden moves." But Evan shook his head. "She doesn't need guards. She needs people to stop treating her like a bomb." The teacher opened his mouth to argue, but then something unexpected happened. Lyra took Evan's hand. The glowing scars on her skin shifted to a gentle shimmer, like moonlight reflecting on water. Her eyes softened. The unstable energy inside her became quiet. The crowd stared, confused and amazed. Evan squeezed her hand once. He could feel her shaking less now. He could feel her breath slowing. He could feel her trust in him. And then, slowly, gently, he lifted her chin with his other hand. Lyra froze. Her breath caught. She could hear whispering behind her. "What is he doing? Is he crazy? He'll die." But Evan ignored them all. For the first time, he saw her without fear. Without shame. Without pain. Just a girl who had survived something unimaginable. And then he leaned forward. And kissed her glowing scars. The garden went silent. Every student. Every teacher. Even the crackling energy in the air seemed to stop. When Evan stepped back, the blue glow around her face softened into a warm violet hue. Her breathing steadied, and a tiny smile appeared on her lips, small, fragile, but real. The head teacher stared, speechless. Humans can stabilize Varine energy. This is impossible. One of the scientists from security stepped forward, stunned. Human bioelectrical fields must interact with her energy lines. It's like two systems syncing. She's stable because of him. Students looked at each other in shock. Some eyes softened. Some faces dropped in guilt. The bullies lowered their heads, realizing what they had caused. Evan turned to the crowd. "She's not a weapon," he said firmly. "She's not dangerous. She's someone who was hurt by people who should have protected her. And she deserves better. She deserves friends. A life. A chance." Lyra's eyes glowed gently. This time, not from fear or panic, but from hope. For the first time in years, she felt seen. Not as a monster. Not as an experiment. But as someone worth standing beside. The students stayed quiet, shame slowly replacing their fear. Evan took Lyra's hand again. "You're not alone anymore." She looked at him, voice soft. "Thank you, Evan. For staying." He smiled. "Always." And as the suns of Varine began to set, painting the sky in blue and gold, the students watched the glowing girl and the human boy standing together, two lights forming one steady glow. And the narrator whispers the HFY ending.